Sometimes journalists or newsrooms don't go the extra mile, Nashra, to verify details and particulars of a story. True or false? True or false, Nashra?
I've forgotten the question.
Newsrooms and journalists sometimes don't go that extra mile to verify details and particulars of a story. True or false?
In my experience, sadly, this is sometimes true, and other times it's false. I'm going to tell you a story which may shock you. It happened at the ABC about 10 years ago. So most of you know that the ABC is not known for being, on the more conservative side of the spectrum. Certainly there are people in Australia who believe that it is too far on the left of the spectrum. But I would argue that because the majority of commercial news in Australia is to the right, the ABC seems like it's to the left, but it's actually quite neutral, and a lot of studies actually confirm this. So given that as the context, I worked in a part of the ABC which covered international news, and we spoke about a couple of the heads of state of Bangladesh. So I was working on a story on the heads of state of Bangladesh, two of whom have been quite high-profile women. And so it's a Muslim country, like the Muslim country to our north, a very important neighbour for us, Indonesia, where I was born. And we were basically talking about how in Bangladesh, years and years ago, they already had female heads of state. So they had female heads of state in these Muslim countries. And my editor turned to me and he said, should we even be covering this? We seem to be the only news organisation in Australia who cares about the bitches of Bangladesh. Right? So that was at the ABC 10 years ago. So things I understand are changing. I know that George has mentioned some of these things. I know that Kathy has mentioned some of these things. But at this stage, we're talking about an incredibly monocultural industry, which has, which has certain, requirements for the format of news, which has, I don't think there's ever any excuse for not getting the facts correct, but I'm not justifying it, but I'm simply pointing out that sometimes we don't have the space certainly within hard news, we don't have the space to go into detail about certain things, and we do fall back on certain narratives that we can't sort of explore. And one of the beautiful things about digital news is that it does expand on that. Right? So it does give us a little bit more time. A podcast will give you more time to unpack issues than a 4-minute CAF piece, a 4-minute current affairs piece on the radio. Things are, I think, looking brighter.